You will have to read it because I want your opinion on this. Like, I would rather be single than have a toxic relationship like one of the relationships that are here. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Dani. If you don't know me, I freaking love reading. I found my passion in reading last year, so here's my little library so far. I do also read on my Kindle and I also get some books from my library, so support your local library if you can. It's amazing, and books for free, of course, the best thing ever. Anyways, I'm just gonna give you a little rundown of the books that I was able to read in January. Some of them good, some of them not that much. One of my biggest goals of 2024 was actually to enjoy my reading time. That's why I ended up DNFing some books that I didn't enjoy or that I wasn't enjoying at the moment. And if you don't know, DNFing, it's didn't finish. It's something that it's a little controversial. Like, people say that you should finish a book, and some people say that you do not have to finish a book if you don't want to. For me, reading is a hobby and it's something that I do want to enjoy. So if I'm not really feeling a book, I just stop reading it and go ahead and pick up another one. So that's exactly what I support and what I would encourage everybody to do if reading is your hobby. Anyways, go follow me on Goodreads because I do post there daily. Keep you guys updated on my books and stuff like that. Let's get this started. The first book that I read was a memoir, actually, and it's Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. I had really high expectations for this book. I saw this book so many places and I saw a lot of quotes about this book. That was the main reason why I wanted to read it. But at the end, I just ended up not enjoying it that much. I couldn't get into it. And I have read memoirs in the past. I read I'm Glad My Mom Died, and I enjoyed that book a lot. So I actually ended up giving this book 1 star out of 5. And it's a book that I wouldn't recommend personally. If you like memoirs, maybe you should try it and maybe you will like it. But for me, it was not it and I just didn't enjoy it. Second book that I read was Lightlark by Alex Astor or Aster. I follow her on TikTok and she's an incredible person, so I decided to give her book a try. Actually, I enjoy this book. I did enjoy it. I ended up giving it a 3.5 out of 5, I think so. I feel like the idea, the world building was pretty good. Like, I feel like it was easy to understand. This is a fantasy book, so if you like fantasy, I will totally recommend for you to try it. I think she has another book, the second one. I'm not really sure if I'm gonna continue with the series because although I liked it, I was not obsessed with the characters. I'm not like invested, and the plot twist, I kind of saw it coming, so I was like not really into it. I was not in shock. So I think the rating was pretty good, and let me know if you guys have read it. Actually, not bad. Next 2 books I did enjoy a lot, and it's something that I did not expect because I DNF 2 books before reading this one, and I was looking for that something that will make me feel something. I love that about a book. I love when I am reading and I just cannot stop turning the page. I cannot stop thinking about it. I cannot do anything else besides reading, and that's something that I love. So this is one of those books that I didn't expect to love as much as I did. Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. You guys, I made a video about this book a couple of weeks ago in my weekly blog. I talked to you guys about this book. This is also fantasy. It's kind of enemies to lovers, but like since the beginning it's not really like enemies, like it's rivals to lovers, kind of. Actually pretty good. The world building wasn't amazing, to be completely honest. It's not incredible. There's not like a lot of things, but it's super easy to understand. I just fell in love with the characters, with the 2 main characters, and you can tell by all the little tabs that I add on my book. I will highly recommend this book. I gave it a 5 stars, and then after that, of course, I had to go to the library to get the second one, which is Ruthless, Vows. This one I didn't enjoy as much as the first one. I think I gave it a 3 or a 4. Never mind. I give it a 2-star. You can tell by how many tabs I add on my books on how excited I was while reading it. I added just 2. This one was a little boring in my opinion. I feel like the first one was beyond my expectations, and then the second one kind of went downhill. Became a little boring, a little repetitive. I didn't feel like the romance was romancing like I wanted to. I don't know, but for me, it was a 2 out of 5. That made me a little sad, but I'm actually excited to read the next book by her because she's writing another one that will come out 2025, I think so. I'm confusing 2 authors right now because that was not her. That was not her that announced the next book. And the reason why is because I actually do not have the books that I am going to talk to you guys about right now, because I gave them to my friend Caitlin so that she could read them, because I am so excited for her to read them. I want her to read them right now because I want to talk about the books with her. But this is One Dark Window. This is a duology as well, but these 2 books, the 2 of them, I gave them 5 stars, One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns. I will highly recommend for you to read it. I also made a weekly blog telling you everything about it. Basically, it's fantasy, it has romance, it's a little more dark than usual. Usually when I read my fantasy books and when I think about fantasy, I think about like fairies and like day and light and like, I don't know, these incredible creators that are like majestic and beautiful. With this world building in One Dark Window, is more of like dark, it's more of like gothic style, it's more, yeah, just like dark. Like if I imagine a movie in my head of this book, it will be in black and white. That's how I can tell you. But it was so good. The plot was amazing, the romance was amazing, the characters, even the side characters were amazing. I fell in love with it. I was invested in the story. I couldn't stop reading. These 2 books have so many tabs in my copy. Incredible. Highly recommend. After that, I decided to give fantasy a little bit of a break and I started Archer's Voice. I saw so many TikToks about this book because so many people were saying that this book made them cry so much and they fell in love with Archer, which is the male character, the male main character. But it was not, for me, a good one. I feel like the writing style was also not amazing. I like when my books tell me a lot of details about the characters, about the people that they meet. I like when I have a lot of description with the places. This book didn't have that, and the reason why I love that is because I play a movie in my head when I'm reading a book. When you don't give me descriptions about the girl and how she looks like and the type of eyes she has or the features in her face, then I'm not gonna be able to enjoy it as much as I usually do because I'm not gonna be able to play the movie in my head. So with this book, I couldn't do that. The descriptions were so vague. They will tell you like, hey, she met 2 friends. They talk, everything. Could I imagine the friends? No, because they didn't give me any description of the friends. I didn't know the hair color, their eyes, nothing. So I ended up giving this book 2 out of 5. I did not cry, which if you know me, you know that I cry for literally everything, but this one, I couldn't get into it. I didn't cry. And at the end, I was kind of bored. So for me, I wouldn't recommend, but you do you. Next one that I read is called Never Lie by Freda McCaden. This book is supposed to be thriller, so you're supposed to feel like scared, and a lot of people have recommended me the author because she gives a lot of plot twists, and I was kind of expecting a huge plot twist, but I wasn't impressed by it at all. I read this book. This is a quick, easy read. Same with Archer's Voice. I would recommend those 2 books if you're just getting into reading in English and English isn't your main language, because they use words that are like super simple to understand. So I would highly recommend just in case. But with Never Lie, I feel like it's similar to The Silent Patient, where the ending is kind of weird and you do not expect it. But because I already read The Silent Patient and I already know that she makes everything like twisted, like she writes to convince us of something, and at the end she kind of like twists everything. I was kind of expecting the plot twist, and I wasn't able to be impressed by it at all. I read this book in a day or less than a day, and it was a good read. Like, I enjoyed my time reading it, and I was invested in the story, but it wasn't incredible. It wasn't like, it's not gonna make it to my best book of the years, if you know what I mean, but I would recommend. I gave it a 3 out of 5, and definitely if you like thriller, do it, read it. Magnolia Parks. I was actually so excited about this book because one of my favorite YouTubers is obsessed with this series, and I already knew what I was gonna get myself into because I saw a lot of reviews about the book. This is character driven. This is a book that is character driven, not plot driven. That's one thing that you need to know if you want to read it. This is kind of Gossip Girl. If you have watched Gossip Girl in the past, you will like that, and you like Gossip Girl, you will like this. It's about a bunch of rich people, a bunch of rich young adults with toxic relationships. Very, very toxic relationships, and like not relatable problems. Like, oh my gosh, I couldn't buy my $3,000 necklace, and then she's crying. Something like that. It's an example. It's not something that truly happens in this book, but it's something like that. And it has a lot, like when I tell you it's so toxic, like I would rather be single than have a toxic relationship like one of the relationships that are here. I enjoy my time reading it just because I enjoy Gossip Girl, but again, it doesn't have a plot. It's just like very back and forth between the characters, and you see the characters grow and stuff like that. So if that's something that you enjoy, highly recommend. I honestly pick up the book because I was in a reading slump, and I enjoy reading it, and I can totally see how a lot of people will love this book, and it could be a guilty pleasure of me, just this one, because I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. Then I tried to read the second one, which is Daisy Haites, and I just couldn't bring myself to finish the book. I DNF the book. I just got tired of the same story, the same toxic relationships, the same back and forth between the characters, the same story every day. I just couldn't get myself into it, so I DNF the book. Maybe I will get back into it in the future, but for now I cannot give you a full review because I just ended up DNFing in the middle of the book. So I could recommend the first one, Magnolia Parks. I do not know about the second one yet because I didn't finish it. And the book that I actually finished yesterday is How Does It Feel by Janae O'Reilly. This is fantasy book. It gave me a lot of vibes with ACOTAR. I don't know if the author actually made it on purpose, but this is very similar to ACOTAR and Throne of Glass in my opinion, and I hate comparing books, but you guys know they're my freaking favorite books ever, and there were so many things that I could see that this book was getting from ACOTAR and Throne of Glass, and I could not stop thinking about it. It has fairies in it as well. The girl that I saw on TikTok reviewing this book was absolutely going insane by the plot twist at the end, so I was expecting to feel the same way, but for me the ending didn't make sense at all. The plot twist didn't make sense. You will have to read it because I want your opinion on this. I don't know what to say. The ending was like, I can totally see how someone can be impressed and shocked by the ending, but if you reread some pages in the beginning and the middle of the book, it just doesn't make sense for me. And again, I hate comparing, but that never happens with like Sarah J Maas. Whenever I read a book by her and I get like this huge plot twist, I go back in the book and I'm like, oh my gosh, she gave me the crumbs in here, and that's why this happened, because this was supposed to happen later on. With this one, it just doesn't make sense, and I need to talk to someone about this because what was going on? Anyways, I gave this book a 2 out of 5. I actually enjoy my time reading it. It was just not my favorite, but I didn't want to DNF the book because it wasn't that bad. I enjoy reading about fairies. Okay, and one book that I ended up reading it from the library that I do recommend is called Homegoing. This book, I gave it a 3 out of 5, and I think that the main reason why is that I am not like in an amazing place with my mental health and my life at the moment. And I use reading as a little escape to make myself happy and to make myself, I don't know, giggle a little and like have another thing in my mind. And it's amazing how much reading helps me. With this book, I just feel like I wasn't in the mental place to read it, so it kind of made me a little sad just reading about slavery and stuff like that. It was not something that I was looking for, if you know what I mean, but I will highly recommend for you to read it if you like reading all things history and if you're looking to diversify the type of authors that you read from. Now we're gonna get into the books that I DNF. I ended up DNFing 3 books, which is Daisy Haites, that I already told you about, Dani, and Legendborn. Legendborn, I ended up DNFing because the fantasy was just a lot to me. A lot. Like I wasn't understanding a single thing and I just couldn't keep up. But I want to reread it in the future, so we will get back into it. And Bunny, again, I was looking for something that will make me happy and giggle and like little romances or stuff like that. So I will pick it up in the future as well. Just not now. I'm not saying they're bad books. I'm saying I am not in the mental place to read them. That is all. Anyways, those were all the books that I read. Today is actually January 28th, but I'm not gonna be reading anything else until January 30th because Crescent City 3 is coming. To be completely honest, I cannot stop thinking about the characters and the plot and everything that's gonna happen in that book. Literally cannot focus on any other book because I cannot stop thinking about them. So I'm not gonna be reading anything else for the month of January. So see you guys in February and I will see you on the next video, whether that's a blog, whether that's a reading blog, whether that's whatever it is. I will see you guys there. I love you so, so much and I hope you get inspired to read some of the books that I recommend. I love you and bye.